Okay, how not to wear a face mask when one is required. Um, and really, all you have to do is look up the ordinance. To give you an example of like what I'm talking about, like, okay, take me for example. Okay, I go to San Antonio to donate plasma. The reason for me donating plasma had nothing to do with the cause of all this. I was doing this. I've been donating plasma for 5 years. I find it very healthy. When I was in my late 20s, early 30s, I my I had bipolar, and I was going to the doctor, and they kept on pressuring me to take blood pressure medications, and I think because of that and the way how they treated me, kind of like I felt like I was being yelled at because I chose not to. Um, every single time I go to the doctor's office, I have that. My blood pressure goes up. Not anymore. I've kind of learned how to control that aspect now and find a level of comfort and whatnot. Um, but I will say that when I donate plasma, when I go to San Antonio, I wear a mask. I feel comfortable always donating. My blood pressure wasn't ever high when I went to donate, um, only to the doctor's office. Um, but I also do, later on, we found out that the high blood pressure was due to anxiety issues. And I also have PTSD. I think I've probably made a good mention of that on here. But one time I wasn't in San Antonio, and one time I was in San Antonio, and I didn't know about the mask ordinance law or anything like that, and I was fixing to go into HEB, and all of a sudden I had this girl who worked there yell and scream at me like it was bloody murder that I was fixing to walk in there with no mask on, and the security guard got right up in front of my face, and he pointed, and I go, well, where's the ordinance? And he pointed to it, and I go, okay, I guess I'll wear a mask. And that whole situation right there brought back previous situations to where I was feeling trapped. And so anytime I go into that grocery store now, I feel the same way. And I don't feel comfortable wearing a mask because I need to breathe to keep my meditations going so that I'm okay. And I don't act weird. Plus, to me, it feels like I'm walking into a war zone because all these people have the weird, different masks, and I'm just bandanas or some piece of clothing taped up. So let me set the record straight on mask. There is no mask that's gonna fully protect you from a virus. Not even the N95 one does. So, and these other ones are no. They will not. And the main reason they will not is because I believe I've repeated this, but I'll repeat it again. Viruses are freaking small. Alright? They are so small a microscope can't even see them. And to actually be able to see them, they had to use a nanoscope. And that didn't happen until 2011. So we're just kind of really now getting to understand viruses a little bit. So masks don't work. So the only reason you're wearing them is because you feel protected, because you were told that it would protect you, but they lied to you. But if the feeling of protection keeps the virus away from you, which positivity can, it has been proven that positivity can keep viruses away from your body, then you are okay. And it's the same thing with the distancing thing. It's not 6 feet. This virus, and it's common that viruses have about 23 feet of worth of distance. So that's 6 feet is nonsense too. It's all security theater. So, the grocery store situation just really messed me up in the head. And so much so that when I got out of there, I drove 100 miles an hour until I got out of San Antonio, and I didn't care if a cop was going to pull me over or whatnot. So here is how you get out of something like that. You read the law first, and in this one I noticed it talked about if, wearing the mask makes you feel like it is going to prevent your mental well-being, and for my case it does, because it prevents the free flow of oxygen and it makes me feel more trapped than I already am. And so I had a security guard escort me throughout the whole process. So in order so what I did was I stayed out in my car, and I talked to the manager on the phone, and I told him, look, doing this means this, and this to me. It's going to really harm and affect my mental health. And so he said, okay, we'll work with you. And I thanked them for it. They had to repeat not to breathe too hard or something like that, or don't cough too hard. I'm like, but I'm like, look, it's gonna be okay. I'm not even grocery shopping. I'm just going to the business center so that I can get the money for donating. And that's exactly what I did. So here are some other exemptions, and this is probably similar to the ones in yours, but when exercising outside, but you do not have to wear a face covering in the following circumstances: when exercising outside or engaging in physical activity outside, and that probably has to do with what I was speaking about earlier, was the flow of oxygen. Driving alone or with passengers who are part of the same household as the driver, when doing so poses a greater mental or physical health, safety, or security risk, while pumping gas or operating outdoor equipment, while in a building or engaged in an activity that requires security, surveillance, or screening, like banks, and while consuming food or drink. The mayor's office has emphasized that face masks are not a replacement for social distancing, frequent hand washing, and self-isolation if you are sick. Everyone is required to follow the CDC, guidelines and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so you get the point. And if for some reason that the ordinance they passed in your city does not have one of those, then I would request for an accommodation. And if that doesn't help you, then I'd follow through. I would tell them that you're going to write the ADA or the ACLU, and definitely write the mayor of the town and let them know that, this is preventing me from following my daily activity lives because of what it does to you. Like for me, if I wasn't able to wear the mask, I wouldn't have entered into the grocery store, and that would have prevented something that I do in my daily life. So those are ways on how you can get around the mask law, especially if you have disabilities like I do. Like I get SSDI. I'm working on a novel and everything like that. I'm hoping to get out next year, and I hope a lot of people buy it. But that is still in the process of working. Actually, you know what? About my novel, I've completely written it. Right now I'm in the first phases of the editing phase, and I'm almost out of the first phase of editing, so I'm fixing to jump into to the second phase. And the first phase is just kind of like going through it real fast, making sure the whole thing makes sense. Phase 2 is that's where I get into the grammar portion more and making sure that this goes there, that there, this there, that there, and if I need to add any more, that's phase 2. Phase 2 is going to take me quite some time, especially while I'm in school. And then phase 3 is I'll put it through Grammarly and Ginger. That way I make sure that I dot my I's and cross my T's all the way through. And then after that, it's query letter, sending it off to agents, and then I leave it in their hands to get me the best publisher and the best deal. And then probably once I've been with them for 5 years, I do have plans of starting my own publishing company, or at least that's what I would like to do. Eventually I'd like to start something like this, like a YouTube channel or like a Twitter thing, but allow free speech instead of trying to censor people, because freedom of speech is one of the most important aspects. And like me, I used my freedom of speech on here for because I'm disabled. It helps me, poetry and doing it helps me get that out, and being able to actually get it out, and for other people to see it and respond to it helps me out a lot. It's very therapeutical to me. But there's no issue right now with me and YouTube. But I just would like to give that the reason why freedom of speech is important. I can see it, like, if it's going to cause, like, and there are exceptions to the law, like, if it's physical harm or your violence in any way, or if it's inciting violence. Yeah, I understand that, but there's a lot of people on here that just want to speak, and I don't see the reason why they should be punished for such a thing. If the advertisers don't like it, screw them. I don't bow down to advertisers. And I hope the advertisers heard that. Those are some of my, like, way off future plans. Not the publishing company, but creating something like this. The publishing company is like a 5 to 10 year goal thing. So anybody out there who wants to write books, poetry, whatever, I am going to be huge on getting that out and helping spread the message on that. Especially new authors. I think it's very hard for a new author to get into this industry, or it used to be. Today there's a lot of self-publishing things, but it doesn't equate what an actual publisher can do. And the direction that we're going, there are going to be more people reading and writing and things of that nature, because there's going to be new learning experiences. Boy, is there going to be a lot of new learning experiences. Well, I'm going to leave it here before I ramble off just like too much. But hey, you guys have a good one. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And peace out.